Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. Today we look at a fundamental difference in how species view the environment. Most advanced civilizations in the galaxy treat a volcano as a natural disaster, a violent, unpredictable force to be avoided or, at most, harnessed carefully from a distance. The Xen-Zul High Guard took it a step further. They were masters of geothermal engineering, and they built their unbreakable citadel directly inside the throat of Mount Ignis, on the planet Vulcan 4. To the rest of the galaxy, the citadel was a masterpiece of defensive strategy. It was shielded by miles of solid rock, powered by the heat of the planet itself, and completely unreachable by orbital bombardment or aerial assault. If you wanted to attack the Xen-Zul, you had to fly into a crater filled with ash and heat-seeking turrets. It was, by all mathematical accounts, a perfect fortress. But the Xen-Zul made a mistake. They viewed the volcano as a static object, a wall that they happened to live inside. They didn't realize that to a certain group of humans from the deep mining colonies of the belt, a volcano isn't a wall. It's a plumbing problem. The High Council was tired of the Xen-Zul's dominance in the sector, but they didn't want a bloody war that would last decades. They needed the citadel cleared out quietly and quickly. So they sent the signal to the mercenaries of Sol. They didn't hire the blind bats or the static walkers this time. They hired the deep core drillers, a group of former asteroid miners who spent their lives chasing veins of platinum through the molten hearts of dying moons. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the rocky slope of Mount Ignis, 3 miles away from the Citadel's main gates. He wasn't looking at the turrets or the shields. He was looking at a geological survey map. Beside him, Sully Sullivan, a man who had more grease under his fingernails than blood in his veins, was leaning against the Magma Mark 7. It was a monstrosity of a machine, a 300-ton horizontal boring drill fronted by a rotating head of industrial-grade diamonds and heat-sink ceramics. The Xen-Zul commander, a creature of rigid scales and high-frequency pride, watched the humans from his observation deck. "They have brought a construction tool to a siege," he signaled to his lieutenants. "Do they intend to drill through 3 miles of reinforced basalt while our turrets pick them apart? Let them play in the dirt. The heat of the mountain will melt their machinery before they reach the secondary mantle." The commander was right about the heat, but he was wrong about the drill. The Magma Eater wasn't designed to fight a war, it was designed to survive the core of a planet. "All right, Sully," Thorne said, lighting a cigar with a hand that didn't shake despite the tremors of the mountain. "We're not going for the front door. The Xen-Zul have their vents at the 1200-meter mark. If we tap into the main magma conduit at the 1400-meter mark, gravity and pressure will do the rest of the work for us." "It's a dirty job, Cap," Sully grunted, engaging the primary gears. "But there's nothing more satisfying than a good clog clearance." The humans didn't attack. They didn't fire a single shot. They simply started drilling down and sideways. For 3 days, the Xen-Zul heard the low, rhythmic hum of the Magma Eater vibrating through the floor of their fortress. They assumed the humans were trying to tunnel into their basement. They reinforced their lower barracks, set up sentry turrets in the maintenance tunnels, and waited with their plasma rifles ready. They were waiting for soldiers. They should have been waiting for a flood. Deep beneath the citadel, Sully and his crew had reached the sweet spot. They had bored a hole directly into the side of the main magma chamber, the pressurized reservoir that fed the volcano's eruptions. On any other day, this would have caused a localized eruption that would have vaporized the drill. But the humans were using pressure siphons. They weren't just making a hole, they were creating a new path of least resistance. "We're tapped, Cap," Sully shouted over the roar of the drill. "The basalt is liquefying. We've got 12,000 psi of raw magma looking for a place to go." "Open the shunt," Thorne commanded. With a massive hiss of hydraulic steam, the humans opened a series of reinforced iron pipes they had laid behind the drill. They didn't point the pipes at the fortress walls. They pointed them directly into the geothermal intake vents, the very pipes the Xen-Zul used to draw heat for their power generators. The Xen-Zul commander was sitting in his mess hall when the alarms went off. It wasn't a breach alert. It was a plumbing critical. "The intake pressure is spiking." A technician shrieked. "It's not steam, it's liquid. The humans have bypassed the heat exchangers. They've pumped the core into the ventilation system." Seconds later, the toilets in the Xen-Zul barracks didn't just overflow, they became miniature volcanoes. 1200-degree molten rock began to spew from every drain, every showerhead, and every cooling vent in the fortress. It wasn't an explosion, it was a slow, relentless, and terrifyingly hot inundation. The unbreakable citadel became a giant oven. The Xen-Zul, A species that prided themselves on their cool, reptilian composure, panicked. Their high-tech armor was designed to deflect lasers, not to withstand being submerged in a rising tide of molten basalt. Their weapons were useless against a flood. Evacuate. The commander screamed, watching as his ornate observation deck began to melt from the heat rising through the floorboards. Abandon the mountain. The Xen-Zul fled. They scrambled out of the main gates, their elegant capes singed, their pride utterly shattered. As they reached the ash-covered plains, they found the humans waiting for them. But the humans weren't holding rifles. They were sitting on folding chairs, drinking beer and watching the volcano burp, a massive cloud of black smoke as the internal pressure stabilized. Thorn stood up and walked over to the shivering Xen-Zul commander. You left your lights on, pal. And your kitchen is a bit of a mess. The commander looked at the mountain, then at the man with the soot-covered face. You destroyed a fortress that had stood for 3 centuries, with a pipe? Not just a pipe, Thorn said, patting the side of the magma eater. A plan. See, you built your house inside a pressurized tank of fire. We just decided to change the direction of the flow. Next time, hire a human architect. We know better than to live in a chimney. The Xen-Zul surrendered their claim on Vulcan 4 that afternoon. They realized that their fortress was only a fortress as long as the ground it stood on followed their rules. The humans, however, didn't care about rules. They cared about geology. The Galactic Council's new entry on the deep core units of Sol was a warning that changed the way every empire looked at their impenetrable underground bases. Advisory: do not build fortified structures near localized geological energy sources if humans are active in the sector. Humans possess an instinctive understanding of fluid dynamics and tectonic pressure that borders on the supernatural. They do not view a planetary core as a threat, but as a utility. If they cannot breach your walls, they will simply reroute the planet through your front door. Against humans, there is no such thing as high ground or solid rock. Humanity had proven the ultimate mercenary HFY truth. The universe is built of heat, pressure, and rock. And if you're not careful, the humans will use all 3 to evict you. We are the ones who dig. We are the ones who build. And we are the ones who know exactly where to turn the valve to make your world melt. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Mind the plumbing. If you enjoyed this volcanic victory by the mercenaries of Sol, hit that like button. Comment below. If you could build a house anywhere, where would be the most dangerous place you'd want to live? Subscribe for the grand finale of the Mercenaries of Sol, the contract clause. The lava is cooling. The check is in the mail.